Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Slow Flower Show. I'm Deborah Prinzing. So excited today to welcome Michelle Hartney of Flowers and Ceramics. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Deborah.
Thanks for joining me. It's really great to meet you virtually. Hopefully, we'll meet in person someday soon.
I hope so.
I Yeah, I love the black and white graphic though. Your wallpaper and your blouse are just perfectly coordinated. That's your
That's
artistic
the
side,
artist in
right?
me. I was like, I should wear a shirt that looks good with the wallpaper.
I love it. Oh, it's great. And meanwhile, you get my messy bookcase behind me. So Michelle joined Slow Flowers, I think maybe a year or so ago. And the name of your business, Flowers and Ceramics, that just intrigued me because I love pottery. I collect pottery. I love when I worked on the Slow Flowers book. I was into vintage, American made, commercially made pottery, like the McCoy and the Hager and all those sort of 1930s to 1940s pottery. But your work is one of a kind, and we're going to talk about it. Before we get started, though, give me a snapshot of where you're located, and how you like to describe flowers and ceramics.
I'm located in Chicago. I live in a neighborhood called Logan Square, which is it's my favorite neighborhood in the city. It's just a really beautiful community. We have the most amazing farmers market in the city in the
Awesome.
summertime. But I sell flowers that I grow on my property, on my teeny tiny property in Logan Square. I also grow hydroponically in my basement. And then I sell ceramics, functional ceramics, to sell to folks who want a place for those flowers.
Oh my gosh. And then you have CSAs. You said you just launched a winter tulip CSA. And is that a hydroponic project?
Yes. My tulip CSA will start probably at the end of January. So I just launched subscriptions. Folks could buy them now. But yes, I'm growing those hydroponically in my basement after a lot of trial and error over the last 2 years. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever really get it, but I'm hoping for a really good crop of tulips and daffodils this year. And I'll also have sort of later into the winter, I'll have for sure anemones because those grow really well hydroponically too.
We have a lot of images to show people because you said your Wi-Fi is bad in the basement, but you took a lot of photos, including a video, and I couldn't believe how long the stems were on those anemones. They were gorgeous. So we'll show
Yeah,
those in
they
a
were
sec.
incredible. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, how did this all happen? How did this all come together? Are you an artist first, a gardener first? How did you integrate all of it? And how old is the business?
The business is very young. It's this, I would count last year as my first official year, but I kept it
Wow.
extremely sparse. So this year I've, offered more CSAs and sold, more flowers. But I definitely identify as an artist more than anything because that's really what I've done my entire adult life. I feel like I was born an artist and always gravitated towards it and studied it in school. But I think what led me to farming eventually was I grew up in a house with two parents who just love gardening. My parents always have had a big garden where they grow vegetables and flowers. And I remember as a kid, they were always talking about dahlias. And I was like, what is this thing with dahlias? Like tubers.
Wow.
And they took us to the Chicago Botanic Garden for their like yearly dahlia show. Um, and like when I think about I don't remember a lot from my childhood, but some of my earliest memories are super vivid. And one of them is I was probably around 4 years old, and my mom took my brother and I out back, and she had us pull a carrot from the ground, and she took a hose and cleaned it off, and we ate it. And I remember like being fascinated by that idea, and I thought my parents were like wizards because they were growing food like on the ground.
Success. I love that. And you grew up in Chicago
I grew up
or
in
in
the
the area?
suburbs of Chicago.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, not in the city, but just in a regular suburb. So they didn't have a ton of land or anything, but they were always growing a lot of food, and they composted, and none of my friends' parents were
Yeah.
composting, and my dad chopped wood, and my mom would, I remember, um, you know, she was always gathering the recycled stuff before curbside recycling and would load it in the van and drive it to a recycling center. So they would
They were
never,
kinda like hippies in a way.
yeah, they like suburban hippies.
Yeah. I love it. Well,
Yeah,
it's just great to hear that because I agree, like, those impressions, they might be just little fleeting memories, but they have an imprint on you, and, that's so special. I'm glad you
yeah.
could pinpoint that. Where did you go to art school, for in a specific media or medium or more
Yeah,
broad?
I ended up concentrating on painting and drawing,
Mm.
and I also
Mm.
studied psychology when I was in undergrad, and then I ended up going to graduate school for art therapy. So I became an art therapist
Oh, I
and
love it.
worked with kids with severe disabilities for a while. So that was kind of how I was using my art degree for a little while.
Wow, that's really meaningful, and now you're doing a different kind of art therapy for yourself and also for your clients, so you're getting
Yes.
flowers into the hands of people who perhaps, are very, you know, isolated from nature because you're in the city, and Chicago's a beautiful city, and like you said, there's a beautiful botanical garden, but not everybody has discovered that. And you're down the road. You're on the block, and I love the photos you shared. Should we just pop up the PowerPoint and you
Yeah.
can kind of introduce us to flowers and ceramics? And I've got it here, and I'll advance the slides. But this is your homepage um, of your website, and I love just saying what it is, flowers and ceramics, and, uh, has the response been really, like, surprising when you've introduced your business to people?
Yeah, I mean, I think people who know me, it's not, a far departure from all the, my passions, but I think people do get excited about that combination of growing and also making, the vessels that are holding the flowers that I'm growing. And yeah, people get pretty excited about it.
I know I did when I first checked you out because this whole idea of sustainability sometimes skips over the vessel, and we're just using mostly inexpensive and often imported options. And of course, the handcrafted, the handmade is not as cheap as going to the dollar store. I want to acknowledge that, but I do think that there's part of you. It's part of your brand. Clearly, it's a big part of your brand. So, I think the first slide introduces us to the beginning, how your farm came together. I thought I would just organize it this way. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've lived in high rises most of my adult life and have really, had a balcony with some pots that I can grow some things on. And in 2020, we moved into a house in Logan Square, not too far from where we were living before. So for the very first time, I had land, and anyone else, I'm sure, who doesn't live in a city would be like, that is nothing. But I felt like I was moving into like 10 acres because all I had was a little balcony. I think in Chicago, our lot sizes are kind of, the standard is 25 feet wide by 125 long. And that's mostly house, like in
Right.
garage. So the actual amount of land that I can use it's teeny, teeny, tiny.
It's like 25 by 25 kind of thing, right? Or
I would
maybe
say,
a
yeah, in the backyard, 25 by 25, and then I've got, like, a strip on the north side, a strip on the south side,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
I noticed that you squeeze a garden everywhere, even on the side of the garage. I love
I
that.
did, that's where my hellebores are because it's shady.
Um, I'll go to the next slide, but just curiously, so people see this, what was here before, Michelle, when you first moved in?
There was, the same house, like, the houses that I live in is the same house. That the garage was torn down because it was just falling apart.
I
So,
see, yeah.
we had to put a new garage in, and there,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
there's
this one, okay.
there's the new garage, and I really had a blank slate to start with,
A
which was,
nice fence too.
Yeah, a nice fence, and just, at the time, I wasn't intending on growing to sell flowers. I was just excited that I get to have a garden and I get to grow things. So, I was really focusing just on more like the aesthetic of how it was gonna look, and that was so much fun for me to plot everything out.
Oh, maybe I got these out of order, but this is
That's all
yes,
right.
this is sort of the in process. You had a little bit of level issues. I mean, it looks like
Yeah,
the house is higher than the yard.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, they had to
Uh,
level some things out. Um,
yeah. So when was this? How long ago did you do the kind of clean the backyard out, create a blank slate for yourself?
this was 2021,
Okay.
like, end of 2020, all of 2021, and we moved in October of 2021.
Okay.
And it wasn't
Okay.
finished,
Wow.
so it looked like this when we moved in.
Of course, because you do the house first, but now I call it the farm. I think you actually had the farm on your photo,
Yeah, I call it a
yeah, the
farm.
photo label. I love that. It's urban, but it's a farm. So I think I just collected some of the photos that fit into a PowerPoint, and they're maybe not in the right order, but because I'm assuming this is the front yard.
Yeah, this is the front of the house, and in Chicago on the sidewalk opposite of people's property is city property, and it's just long strips of grass, and we'll have a tree or two here and there, and some people in my neighborhood kind of take over that land and grow things, and so I did that last year. I kind of took over the front of my city property, and then my neighbor let me take over the front of her city property and also her side of kind of the side that we share of our houses.
Wow.
Um, and I put I'm really trying to plant more perennials out front, and I really don't cut from out front as much as possible, with the exception of tulips, because I like to leave the front. I want to leave beauty for my neighbors and for my family, and a cut flower, a flower farm, you don't see a lot of flowers because you're cutting them
Right,
all the time.
right,
And I
right.
do have a lot of natives and a lot of pollinator flowers in that front city causeway spot. So I try not to cut from there.
Mm.
But yeah, it provides a lot of beauty and so many butterflies and um,
Yeah, and it probably sparks conversation when people walk by. They ask you about what's that flower
yeah.
kind of thing, right?
And that's how I really, because we were new to the neighborhood, and I'm also a total introvert, and I'm very shy, but the flowers, that's how I got to meet people, really, because I'd be out there gardening and people would start talking to me and I could talk about flowers forever. So it's another example of how amazing flowers are and how they can do amazing things like grow community just because they're there and because you're growing them.
Mm, I love it. What's the age of the architecture of these tall brick houses? Is it from the turn of the century or
Yeah, they're about 100 years old, like 100,
wow,
110 years old. Our house is about 100 years old. Yeah, they're
wow.
old gray stones, like pretty much the whole block. It's kind of all gray stones, but they each have a different little design to them.
Mm, fun. Okay, well, that caught my eye. I would like to walk down your front yard, and here's just another example of what the front looks like, and then around to the back, after the renovation got started. This is, mind-blowing how much you filled every square inch of this backyard.
Yeah, I really did, and that took me a couple years. This is from this past season, and I very slowly added. When they kind of finished the backyard, they put grass in,
Mm,
and I've slowly cut into that grass and removed a lot of the grass. And my goal is eventually to have no grass, but I have two kids and who pretty much grew up in a high rise and never had a
mm,
yard before, and so I've promised them that I will leave as much grass for them to, like, they build a little sled hill in the winter. There's one out there right now, and they don't want me to touch that part of grass. So um
that's sweet.
I have a little bit now, but
It
But yeah,
is the
I've like,
family, yeah, it's the family yard, I understand that.
yeah,
But in terms of small space gardening, you have maxed out, giving your kids grass, you've maxed out. Like, this is a side by the fence, and it looks like you've really trellised up the fence.
yeah.
That's not very deep. That bed is pretty, what, maybe
It's
2
only
or 3 feet deep?
4 feet. Yeah, I guess the ground, yeah, because there's stone in there. Yeah, it's about 3, 4 feet deep, and I have sweet peas growing. I think those are the remnants of my sweet peas, kind of lining my
Mhm.
fences, so I get
Mhm.
some color earlier in the season. But I really I pack things in, and I lose things because I'm experimenting and always trying to push the limit to see how much I can, crowd into one space. But I've been having a lot of luck with growing things really close together.
This is a beautiful little secret garden almost, the way you have the path curving
Yes.
around the stones.
Yes, I always love the idea of a secret garden. So I put an archway and planted roses, climbing roses, and a little stone pathway that leads back to the side of the garage with my hellebores, which I'm really excited about. I put those in this year, so I'm excited to hopefully have a lot of hellebores.
Oh, I hope I
Um,
have that photo in here, yeah. Um, so when you started gardening, even at that point, you weren't necessarily thinking, "Oh, I'm going to create a flower-based business."
No. I really, I mean, even prior to all of these flowers, my first season went to the nursery and bought a bunch of perennials and, planted them. And that summer is when I discovered floret and
Uh-huh.
the gateway drug to flower addiction. And that's when I knew I wanted to do something different, than I wanted to try to grow a cut flower garden, not necessarily to sell. So I pulled up at the end of the season everything I planted, and I gave all of my perennials away and started fresh the next season, growing everything from seed.
Wow, and that is what led you to set up the basement, basically propagation hydroponics. You're starting from seed in the basement and also doing hydroponics, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, here's the grassy area we can see behind, the perennials or the annuals so that we know your children are not neglected. They have
Yes, they're
fabulous
not neglected.
fabulous grassy area. It's so pretty. I love it. So you were radical then just to say, "Okay, I'm going to go back to the tabula rasa and plan this for cut flowers only."
Yeah.
Um, wow. Is this when you added these raised beds?
No, I actually added those from the very beginning,
Hmm.
when I knew I wanted to have a garden. My
Wow.
younger kiddo helped me build those raised beds. Um,
That's
um,
perfect.
yeah, they're really nice. They're beautiful. But yeah, I really didn't I didn't start to get the idea of growing to sell until I discovered the slow flower movement in your work, Deborah, because I have done a lot of environmental work in the past. I was in the Chicago chapter of Extinction Rebellion, which is a climate change organization that uses nonviolent direct action and art and music and theater to protest and um, try to stop climate change. Yet I did not know about the slow flower movement. I knew all about the slow food movement.
Right.
Um, and it was disturbing to me that I could be this deeply engaged in climate activism, and not know about this whole industry that is really affecting climate change. So that's when I got excited about like what I could do
Wow.
in Chicago in a cold weather climate growing hydroponically.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's so powerful because this is only recently am I seeing this link to climate activism and environmental kind of cultural change and shifts with cut flowers. And what's caught my attention is in the last year, I think like two or three different national journalists. One was the Washington Post, one was the New York Times. These are freelancers who are writing for those publications. And then also just recently, I think the Associated Press. These writers are environmental writers and they're climate change beat. That's their subject matter. And they're coming to flowers that way. And it's like you already saw this happening in your market and captured that message for people. And do people respond when you talk to them about it? Do they understand?
Yeah, I mean, most people don't know about it like I did, and they're surprised by it. And when I talk about, what I learned, like you shouldn't smell your flowers because they're full of pesticides and preservatives, and florists wear gloves when they work with flowers that are not grown organically and have had to be treated to survive the journey here to the United States. It starts up really good conversations, and it raises awareness, and that's something that I have a whole other art practice. I make socially engaged work mostly about bodily autonomy and gender
Mm,
issues, and at the core of that work is really raising awareness about whatever issues that I'm making work about. I've done work about maternal mortality and how racism affects maternal health care outcomes in the United States, and using my art to raise awareness and get these messages out. So I love being able to use flowers to talk about the effects of the floral industry on climate change.
wow. I love it. I noticed on your Instagram account, you had another Instagram um, page just for your art. So I'll make sure I
Mhm.
share that with people. Is it
Okay.
Michelle Hartney art or some? It's very,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, here's some other quick little backyard pics just
Yes.
to show what's happening. I This blew my mind when I just saw how abundant even one, like, one little cluster of marigolds is, or one stand of dahlias. Your parents are coming back to you with the dahlias, right?
I know, now I give them tubers. It's full
That's
circle. It's so
great.
nice.
That's great. So, the this what we're seeing on this slideshow now, this has been, you said you're in your second year, but you've started growing, what, like a couple years ago, or
Yeah, I started
it
growing 3 years ago.
okay,
Yeah. So
beautiful.
it's transformed a lot because I've made so many mistakes as we do when we're growing. That's how we learn. And so I've just been modifying where I plant things, and but it's been so much fun to learn so much about flowers. And
Well, I want to ask you before I go on to your flower stand, what is your light situation and what is your soil situation? I'm thinking the raised beds probably helped give you more better
yeah.
soil for growing. Yeah.
Yeah, this I mean, because the ground is kind of, there's a lot of clay in the ground, so I'm
Hmm.
mostly growing in, for the most part, in raised beds. The front of the house where I have that native garden, the soil is just horrific, and I've had to
Hmm.
amend that a lot. Um, but the light situation is great. I My backyard is full sun,
Wow.
and then, the sides of my house are quite shady. So I have, hellebores, I have some hydrangeas, and Millennium Allium is doing pretty well there. And then my front yard has a really big tree in front. So part of it's shady. And then I have a nice chunk of my neighbor's front property they let me grow on, and that's sunny. So I
I
have
love
a
it.
decent amount of sun.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest issues for people in urban settings is the block, light being blocked by buildings and trees. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the flower stand. I love this so much. And since you have all these neighbors walking by, I guess they see this and want to shop from you, right?
Yeah, it's something I just started at the towards the end of the summer, really, because I guess maybe in September I had extra flowers, that I didn't need for my weekly subscriptions, and I really like the idea of using all parts of the flowers, and short stem flowers. So a lot of the flower stand bouquets they're really inexpensive because they're the short stems that I can't really use for my subscriptions. So they're just these like little mini bouquets, and that's something that I've been learning as I've gone when thinking about urban urban farming, because sometimes some farms are urban but they have land still, or they're in the suburbs and they've got space. And this is, I'm in a teeny spot of land, and I really had to kind of figure out like my market, because initially I thought I'd grow and sell for florists. But the if I can't get like super long stems out of all of my
Right.
plants. And so if I'm selling and doing my, like I do some arrangements for a restaurant, I can use short stems because I create vases that are like pedestal vases that can, have shorter stems and still have a beautiful bouquet. So that's what I'm kind of learning. Like, selling to florists isn't maybe the best for me because I'm not growing those thick, really sturdy, long stems. But kind of the retail market is I think my sweet spot, especially because I live in a really big city and you can sell flowers for more.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, you're selling a $15 bouquet. This says $15 bouquet. That bouquet, it maybe has what, 8 or 9 stems, but they're like maybe the side stem of a
Yeah,
taller flower. Or maybe I see like you've got gomphrena and you've got a marigold and a dahlia and celosia and snapdragon. I mean, they're kind of mostly affordable annuals. The dahlia, not
yeah.
so much, but I love it. Okay, I think there's a few more here I wanted to just have people see and have you talk about. This is so great. You've kind of created a front yard stand with packing crates or metal, wood crates, an umbrella, and you have your vases out here. So, do you pop this up only at certain times?
Saturdays and Sundays. So on the weekends, I put it out in the morning. I take it out in the evening, and I'll put a post up on Instagram. And I don't give out my address because I
Okay,
just don't feel safe giving out my address.
right.
Um, but people who know me know it's out there, and people in the neighborhood see it out there. So, I sell, and I'm not selling a ton. Maybe I have like 8 to 10 bouquets, but I sell them out most weekends, which is great. And it excites me that that means all those folks who bought those flowers didn't go to the grocery store to buy flowers, and they
Right.
got hype arrangements just on their block.
Oh my gosh, and your vases, even these bud vases, they're just little works of art, and how sweet that someone could maybe buy a small bud vase and a couple flowers and have it be a beautiful gift, a hostess gift or
Yeah.
something for themselves or for a friend. These are sort of the smaller sizes that you design, right?
Yeah, these are my small bud vases, and I like, I do this with my other art practice as well. Art is expensive, and my big vases that take me hours and hours and hours to make are very expensive, but I like having smaller, more inexpensive things to offer people, because I think we all deserve, beauty,
Mm,
beautiful things at any price level. So yeah, I just sell these for like 20 bucks a pop, and with the flowers in them. And you know, I've had luck so far. No one's stolen anything because I'm in the city. Like we've had
right.
my kid's bike was stolen from the front yard, and I kind of, it might happen,
Yeah.
and if it does, then I'm just gonna tell myself that person needed those flowers more than I did,
Mm,
uh, or they
yeah.
needed that
Yeah.
vase more than I did.
I hope that doesn't happen, and I do think you're using social media is mainly for your followers who already know you.
Yeah.
And I suppose if I was following you and I didn't know your address and I wanted some, I would just DM you and ask you, "Do you mind if I
Yes.
come and could I have your address?" Right?
And I've had a few people do that, and, who I don't know, but they follow me, and and it's also like they're women, and I'm more comfortable giving, women my
Yeah.
home address. So I have given my address to, some other folks who I don't
Mm,
know.
yeah. I hope this continues. And since you started it at the end of last season or this past season, it'll be interesting to see, with spring flowers, a whole different
Yeah.
palette of tulips and narcissus and anemones before the annuals and dahlias kick in. We're going to see more of your pottery in the last section of this, but we touched on this briefly that you're growing in your basement. So I'm going to walk through some of these slides and we have a video to show. My mind is blown. Like this is you've doubled the size of your farm, maybe not exactly square footage wise, but your growing area by using your basement.
Yes, I think the max I've had down there is about 200 plants growing at once.
My goodness.
And I'm not even utilizing all of my space yet. It's been a really slow build because it's even though I'm doing it very DIY, I don't buy my systems. I build them all on my own using plastic storage crates and aquarium
Really?
pumps. It's really
Wow.
simple. I've bought the really fancy systems because I used to grow food for my family in my basement. That's what got me into hydroponics initially. Um,
Okay.
that's what kind of started me off. And then when I was, learning more about the slow flower movement and realizing I had such a tiny amount of land outside, I wanted to learn more about growing hydroponically cut flowers, but there's very little information out there about it. You can find a lot of info about growing weed or tomatoes or greens or herbs hydroponically, but I really there's not a ton of info out there, which is something like you know, I want to do something about that eventually in the future. There are a ton of huge farms growing hydroponically. It's happening all over the place. Um, but
But
things like
this on a
nature.
micro scale is pretty impressive.
Yeah, yes, on my little, like, tiny micro scale, there's been so much trial and error, and I've messed up so many times. And
So is this the
I've done
setup you were talking about that you build yourself?
Yeah, so those are plastic storage bins. I would not use those if I were growing food just because I'm sure the plastic is not food grade, but for plants, for flowers I grow. Yeah, these are anemones. I have a 2-inch drill bit that can drill, those 2-inch holes in there and put an aquarium pump inside and grow lights. It's very simple. And
Wow.
that's what one of the things I really love about it is its simplicity.
Is the for example, you said these are anemones. Is there a medium that the corm goes into? I see sort of at the bottom of the stem,
Yes.
there's something brown.
Yeah, I use a different types for different flowers. For these, I use this just like a red clay pebble, like clay pebbles to hold the corm in place, and then um, and like these are different than zinnias where you don't want the corm to rot. So I have to make sure it's not sitting in the water, but just the roots are in the water.
I think
Um,
I have a photo of the zinnias too, but here's just another one of the anemones. Look how tall those stems are, Michelle. That's crazy.
I got 24-inch stem anemones. They were
Wow.
huge and really sturdy and really great thick stems.
What is the preferred oh, there's a zinnia. What's the preferred uh time of year that you're growing? Are you trying to grow before your backyard is productive? So you're using like winter for the hydroponic activity?
I'm kind of definitely winter. I want like my largest amount of flowers growing down there, but I use it in the summer too. It was really great to use during those little shoulder seasons when, the peonies and the irises have died out and there's this gap of time, at least in my zone, where we don't really have a lot of flowers. So that's when my zinnias were saving me for my weekly the restaurant that I do flowers for weekly, because nothing else was really out there focal flower wise. But my zinnias, just they save me whenever I'm low on flowers. um, and I didn't have a ton growing there this summer because of crop loss, but the ones that
Mm.
I had, it was so incredibly helpful.
Well, this image is showing how densely you're planting them and also how tall these stems
Yeah.
are as well. Wow. It's impressive.
Yeah, they get really tall, and it's really It's I mean, I've don't never had a greenhouse, and I imagine it's like greenhouse growing where the flowers are just they're not bothered by wind or insects or rain, so they look very different. They're just so perfect,
Wow. It's
and
amazing.
it's cool to see how different they grow, uh, inside.
It's amazing, and this is, I think, maybe one of the just maybe I have this, upside down, but this shows this just an array of the, various mainly zinnias and a couple dahlias that you've just laid out so people can see the variety that you're growing and the stem length. That's a great and so the dahlias, you can grow hydroponically too, right?
Yeah, it's a lot trickier. I it's a lot trickier than the zinnias. Yeah, I'm having a heck of a time. I had powdery mildew just
Mm.
an outbreak, and it was my fault because I didn't have enough fans running. I got too busy. I didn't get another dehumidifier, and I lost like
Back
everything.
to trial and error, you're going to get more fans and dehumidifiers for next summer, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
This is also showing how tall these are. I think these are the dahlias, aren't they?
Yes, those are the dahlias. Yeah, and that
Wow.
was another thing I learned is some of the, the I grew a lot of these same dahlias outside, but inside they were getting 2 or 3 feet, like way bigger than they were outside because they have perfect nutrients, perfect,
Mhm.
everything's just like perfect. So I
Yeah.
had some that shot through the shelving unit above it where I had other flowers. So I had to like take all those down and
That's
I
crazy.
think I have one shot where it's like they're at the roof, the ceiling of the basement.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna pop up the video that you sent. It's only a minute long, but I think it really will bring to life what's happening in your hydroponic operation. So let's see if we can get that up here.
Yeah, so there are my zinnias. Those are some white zinnias. And that's my Love Lies Bleeding. Doesn't look very good there. And some more
Wow.
zinnias and then a calendula up top, and then, some gomphrena, and those are all dahlias, I think.
Mm. So this you filmed last summer, at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Okay. So impressive. I'm gonna play it just a little bit at the beginning, one more, because I think I might have cut off the beginning. The zinnias are beautiful. It just is so fascinating to see the potential of what you've, just like MacGyvered together. I'm so impressed. And like you said, you had been growing food hydroponically, so you have some confidence about setting up the lights and the shelving and all of that. It's just doing the research to figure out what you need to do differently for flowers.
Yeah, like the nutrients that, different nutrients different plants need different nutrients, different flowers need different amounts of light, and I'm figuring that out. I also grow hydroponically in my walk-in cooler. My youngest brother is also a farmer, and he actually lives in your neck of the woods. He's on Whidbey,
Oh, you're
Whidbey Island.
kidding. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
um, and
Okay, I wanna meet him.
oh, and
That's
he's
cool.
amazing, and his partner is a farmer too. Um, they're incredible people, but he came out to visit, and he built me a walk-in cooler because he's just amazing.
So
And
is that in your garage then,
no,
or
that's in the basement. That's in the my art studio is in the other side of my basement, and I kind of took a chunk out of my art studio for the cooler. Um,
wow,
and
impressive. All right, well, that means you might come see your brother sometime, and if you do, I'd love to, take you around to see some really great, uh, pottery people and flower farming people when you're here,
yes,
okay?
I visit like once a year, so I will take you up on
Awesome.
that.
It's a date. Okay. So let's just wrap up by talking about your pottery, but also the slides that you shared. show your floral design as well. And I think people will see what you're talking about with short stems and how you're utilizing them. I want you to describe your technique. Are you throwing on a wheel? Are you hand building? What are we seeing here with this unique? It's like a flower frog pedestal vase. I don't know how
Yep.
else to describe it.
That's exactly how I would describe it. So I mostly am wheel throwing, but I wheel throw in sections. So this piece here, the white piece, was wheel thrown in 3 different sections. The frog is one section, and then that kind of, vessel is another part, and then the pedestal is another part. And then I attach them, I poke the holes and do the carving, and then attach them all together at the end. So they take
It's stunning.
a lot of time to make. And they say a good ceramicist makes things that are light and, dainty, and because it's hard to wheel throw things with thin walls. But as a, florist and a flower designer, I want heavy pieces that won't topple over if I'm doing something huge and top heavy. So I make my ceramics very heavy for that purpose.
Right, you're
So you can really
designing with the mindset of a floral designer. I hadn't thought about
always.
that.
Yeah.
Wow. Or creating pottery with the mindset of a floral
Yes.
designer.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
you use the term carve, so that's where we're seeing the ridges and the recessed areas and the kind of pattern that you're creating on the surface, right?
Exactly. That's, once I wheel throw everything, I then hand carve, to get all those intricate designs in, and that's my sweet spot. That's the part I enjoy most. I love the carving, kinda doing more of the design detail work.
I love it. And this one, we don't see the top of the vase, but when I see how many top-heavy sunflowers you have in this vase, I get what you're saying about the substantial, sort of
Yes.
oomph that you have to put on the, uh, weight of that clay so it doesn't topple over.
Yes, they're heavy. They're
Oh,
sturdy.
I love them. Now are these I love this shot too. Your photography is fabulous. Is this, a special place where you're shooting to get all that gorgeous side light?
That's my kitchen. My poor
Perfect.
family there's just either art supplies or flowers all over our kitchen table all the time.
I love
But my
it.
kitchen
I
has
love it.
beautiful light, and that's where I
Yeah,
take most of my photographs in the morning. Um,
so
so I
beautiful. Now, this one vase in the front that doesn't have flowers on it, that's similar to the one that we looked at earlier, right? In terms of having a
yes,
three-piece. Wow.
yes, yeah. That's one of the hand carved, pedestal vases. They're really great. I've been doing, a lot of events at my friend's restaurant. They have this event space, and they when they have someone doing a baby shower, wedding, they refer me to them, and I use those. I love those vases, and I made more of them specifically for these events because they're low, so you can have them at a dinner table, and people can still see over, the piece,
Mhm.
but it's still like a beautiful, piece of ceramic that they get to enjoy in addition to the flowers. So I made a lot of those that I mostly use to do flowers at Lulu's, the name of the restaurant.
Mm, mm. Lulu?
Yes, yeah, Lulu. There's a
Okay.
Lula cafe and then a Lulu. They just opened an event space called Lulu.
Okay, we'll put the link in our show notes. And I
Yes.
guess I also wanna ask you about your preferred glazes because you've such interesting glazes that, like in this case, show some of the clay underneath. Is it something that you're mixing yourself or,
No,
creating?
the studio I work at a big community studio called the Pottery Studio, which is just like the most amazing. I'm so grateful this place exists. It's in my neighborhood, like 5 minutes away, and it's in a huge warehouse. And they have all these glazes that we can use. It's a really beautiful community and wonderful people that work out of there. So yeah, this is a glaze. It's called Warm Satin White, and I love it because it can show texture. It's not a thick glaze, so you can really get still see that texture that I put into a lot of the pieces.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And this is why I love following your Instagram account so much because you're always putting, you know, this intentionality between the vase you've created or the vessel, and then what flowers you use for that particular arrangement. Like this one would look completely different in the spring than it does now at the end of
Yep.
summer,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
um, so pretty. Do you use some vases? Like, for example, does this vase have the frog component to it? Is that kind of your
That one
signature
does.
detail? Okay.
Yeah, not all of them do, but this one does. And this is one of the my older vases when I was just trying to figure out the design for the built-in flower frog. And I'm still like working some things out, you know, the hole size and where they're placed. Um, but yeah, I wanted to create vessels that did not require floral foam or chicken wire or anything that would be thrown out or anything toxic. So and or anything that could be lost. It's you could put a flower frog in and lose it, so it's all built in. And
Wow.
what I like about that too is I think just from a design perspective, it adds to the sculptural element of the vase. I think the frog itself is really beautiful. So it's been fun to work on those designs, and I'm continuing to modify and play around with the designs of the flower frogs that are built into the vases.
I love that. You can see some of them here if you look closely, that one in the center, of the frame, but also this one where I noticed that you have this technique of putting, like, a little collar around the, neck, I guess you'd say, with more
Yeah.
holes.
Well, those are actually I put jewelry in there.
Oh, I saw that too, right.
I yes, like, you could see the little dangling, jewels. I used to make jewelry, and
Mm.
I always save my supplies and I hoard them because I think maybe in 20 years I'll use this again, and I always do, and I was so excited to be able to go back to these jewelry findings that I had probably had for 15 years and hadn't touched, and started working them into my pottery pieces. And I love mixed media, anything. I work in so
Right.
many different mediums. So it was really cool to be able to combine metal and, fake pearls and all these jewelry findings and chains into the vases.
I think there's a few more as we go through the slides. I actually did have to study that and figure out, what it is that you were threading through those holes. So that's just another embellishment to make it
Yeah.
more special. I love that.
Yeah.
These are you were talking about your signature style. I'm guessing that this pedestal, carved pedestal vase is one of your signature styles.
Yeah, for sure. I love a vessel with a little pedestal on it. It's just I think it looks so beautiful, and yeah, I definitely went through a phase where that was all I was making for a
Well,
while.
listen, I mean, this is the most beautiful way to display tulips. You're you're really focusing on the bloom, not the stem, and you're able to arrange low because of the way you've designed that vessel. Uh,
Yeah,
and it's almost like they go with these striated, variegated tulips because of then there's this striated pattern on the clay. It
yeah,
just
yeah.
meant to be perfect pairing. I could look at these all day. I love them. These are 2 more really unusual shapes that I thought would be fun for you to talk about.
Yeah, that's like it's more of like, if you looked at it from it's like a oval almost, and that one is kind of a mixture of a hand-built and wheel-thrown piece,
Mhm.
that was then kind of modified, yeah,
Hmm.
and I don't that's the only one I have that's shape, and I wanna make more because I really love that elongated shape,
I love it
and
too. Yeah, you can really, get a kind of a two-sided arrangement for a
yeah,
tabletop when you have got that elongated I thought it was square, but I see what you're saying. It's a little bit more of a rounded rectangle.
yes, exactly, yeah, and
And then
then
this
the one on the
piece on the
right,
right. Oh, I love it.
yeah. That's totally hand built using slabs, um, and I love doing slab work. It takes a long time to do, but I love the silhouette of that vase.
It's
I
beautiful.
just sold
So
that one. Sometimes
oh,
when someone buys one, I'm, like, sad to see it go.
it's sexy. I love it. Perfect for tulips. Just
Yes.
a few more here. I'm glad you shared some photos with me to show how that frog is integrated into the vessel. So you're having to build a frog, probably throw it mostly, and then cut the holes,
Yes.
set it aside while you make the vessel, and then how do you
Yes.
fuse them to how do you fit them together?
And then you just, it's called scoring and slipping. You kind of score the clay and put some wet clay on it and like just stick it together and seal it in there. Um,
And then it
and yeah,
fuses when you fire it.
yeah, it fuses when you fire it then.
Well, these holes look like they're maybe what, 5/8, 3/4 inches in diameter? Like, did you have to think about what size would hold what stems?
Yeah, and this is one of my very first experiments with the built-in flower frog, and
Mm,
I designed them different now because that one's just too shallow.
mm.
But what I found is this design is really great for amaryllis forcing and tulip forcing in the vase. You don't need any medium. You set it on
Oh.
top of that, this the ceramic part, and then just have the water come up just to the edge. They work really well with that.
Oh, I
Um,
love that. Right, because then the bulb is protected from getting rotten in the water, but the
yes.
roots can go down. There you
Yeah,
go. That's
yeah.
it's like you're problem solving constantly. That's the
Exactly.
artist's way.
Happy
It's ano
accident.
is another one that shows the different sizes that you're putting into the frog, which I think is probably
Yeah.
very, very thoughtful.
Yeah, and some of these are more like this one is more for if you want not a big, huge bouquet, but a kinda airy, long, thin stemmed, like a bunch of thin zinnias, looks really good with this type of, flower frog.
Love it. People, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you absolutely have to come over to soulflowerspodcast.com to see this entire PowerPoint slideshow. And also, we'll have it on YouTube because you can't even imagine what we're talking about if you don't see it. This one is your jewelry detail, then, right?
Yes. Yes,
Ah,
I have some
sweet.
faux pearls in there, and, I yeah, that and the pearls are kind of sitting in, like, these gold, jewelry findings that kinda look like petals, so it's almost like they're pearl flowers.
I love it. It's just an additional treatment that you put on some of these vases. I think there's one more here. I don't know if I can get it up. Oh, just some more, a different shape on the left there. That's kind of fun. But there's a frog in there, right?
There is, that was, like, the tallest frog I had ever made, and so I was trying to play around, and it ended up this piece kinda looked like a cake to me.
Me too.
It
I
was
was going
just
to say,
a weird.
it reminds me of the way people stack macarons, to make a
Yeah,
little pointed
yes,
tower. It's perfect.
totally.
I love it. I put up on the last slide here just how people can find and follow you. Flowers and Ceramics on Instagram, Michelle Hartney Flowers and Ceramics on Facebook. So this is just a great introduction to show what one person is doing with so many interests. Like you're balancing so many callings. You want to grow, you want to fight climate change, you want to heal people through art therapy, you want to care for your family, and you make art and share with your community. And I think that thread of community weaves through everything you're doing.
Oh, yeah, truly.
Mm. Michelle, you said that you have we talked briefly and just touched on the fact that you're starting to force tulips for winter sales. So you've announced that to your CSA subscribers, right?
Yes, they were just launched, so people can purchase subscriptions, that will probably start end of January, early February, most likely. And I'm really excited about that because I have way more bulbs this year than, I had last year for forcing, and, I'm really hoping to get a lot of flowers out there, and also want to do my flower stand even in the winter as long as it's above 32 degrees. It's like I have a cooler. So
Yeah,
I will,
right.
I'll have the
Yeah.
stand going.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. So are these tulips are grown hydroponically in your basement?
Yeah.
Okay, because I do know is sort of that's happening a lot in the slow flowers world of people creating winter revenue for growing
Yes.
tulips, but they don't take it to the next level and keep it all season long like you are. I will. mention that Grateful Gardeners, who are Tom Precht and Sarah Dakin, are Slow Flowers members who are doing hydroponic flowers on a big scale in Maryland. So if you've connected with them, or you seems like you
I
know who they
haven't,
are.
but I
Mm,
know who they are, and I what they're doing also just with grant writing, what
yeah,
they're doing really excites me.
yeah, yeah. But I think they would love to see your operation. So I'll connect you guys by email.
Oh, I would
Um,
love that.
Yeah, and we are going to air this after your one of your winter maker sales. But are you do generally throughout the year do pop ups or participate in other events where people can maybe check out your
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, here and there I'll do a pop-up. I don't do a ton of them, but every once in a while I will. But I do, yeah, mostly little pop-ups on, Instagram, or if I have a new bunch of pottery coming out, then I'll announce it and do a little capsule collection. So
Well, I really spent a lot of time looking at your shop section of flowers and ceramics because it's well, for one thing, even if something's already sold, you still have the photo up, at least maybe for a while, because then people can see a particular style. And I'm wondering if people do commission you for a
yeah,
particular vase.
yes, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I like
Mm,
to keep those up, and just so people can see, what I'm making and the different styles, and
mm.
it's like a little portfolio.
And then one final thing I'm trying to wrap my head around. Your pottery studio is not at home. Uh,
Correct.
so you're doing some back and forth with, but not that far away where you
Yeah.
use this other location.
Yeah, my I do have a studio in my house for my social justice art that I do,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
other part of my artist brain, but the ceramic studio is outside of the home. So there's a lot of, like, schlepping things back and forth, and, um, which is a lot
What?
like
Yeah.
farming. You're always hauling, and
That's right. You must have a lot of crates in your back of your car for carefully transporting these precious
I
objects.
do. I have a lot of
And then you
tulip
get
crate.
yeah, and then you get rid of them and you bring in the potting soil or whatever.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
great. Well, I am so delighted that we could spend this time together. I think it'll really inspire everyone who loves both growing and arranging because you're touching on both of the passions of Slow Flowers community and bringing it together in your business, which is it's just a wonderful balance to see how you're doing it. And I hope I get to see it in person someday, and of course follow along on social media. So anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Um, no, I guess, I've been thinking a lot about beauty lately, and how important beauty is in our lives, and how, flowers give that to us, and art gives that to us. And I just this, especially this past year, with there's been so much um, hate and division in our country, and I think that, like, now is such an important time to have community and beauty in our lives, and to really, I feel like I live my life by fiercely just devouring as much beauty as I can, and extracting it from everywhere I look, as a form of resistance almost. And so I love, like, that flowers can do that, and ceramics and art can do that. And I just hope, like, we all can really, like, lean into beauty and community, going into this next year.
Mm. Well, that's beautiful. Thank you for that closing sentiment. I couldn't agree more, but you articulated it in such a way that I think it'll inspire people to just, even in the dark times, find the beauty and find the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
Happy holidays. Thank you so much. And we're thrilled to get this out into the world very soon.
Thank you so much, Deborah.